Good day, welcome to another video. We are continuing with functions. Specifically here we are doing a question on inverse functions. So here we're given question 4 and then in the diagram below, the graph of f of x equals to a squared is drawn in the interval x less than or equal to 0. So the negative x-axis, right? And then the graph of f of minus 1 is also drawn, which is basically the inverse graph. And then we are given point P, and then we are given also point R as well, right? Okay, so here 4.1 we are asked if the inverse graph is a function, and we have to motivate our answer. Okay, so the inverse graph, looking at the inverse graph, it is a function. Why? The inverse graph is basically an inverse function because, as we can see, there is basically, I'm just gonna draw it here. So yes, it is an inverse, it is a function because basically every x value matches a y value, which basically what I'm saying is that one x value corresponds to one y value, right? Which let me just draw it here. So this is the graph, right? The inverse graph. So as we can see here, that when we actually use our vertical line test, right, what we notice is that there's only one x value, of which you can say there's an x value here, and then there's one y value, right? And then even here, one x value is to one y value at this point, one x value is to one y value, and so on and so forth, right? So it basically also passes the vertical line test. So it is a function. Okay, so 4.2, they say if r is the reflection of p in the line y is close to x, write down the coordinates of r. So basically we know that for us to find r, right, r, it is basically gonna be what? R is basically gonna be yp is to xp. As you know that for us to find r, we swap the values of the x and y of r to find p, of p to find r, right? So basically our r is just gonna be negative 12 is to negative 6. Okay, so 4.3, yeah, so this in any case is basically this, right? So the x and y swap. Okay, and then 4.3, they say calculate the value of a. So for us to calculate the value of a, we are already given the function, right? F of x, we are given f of x being equals to ax squared, right, which is basically y a squared. And then we're going to substitute the value of x and y, since we're already given those, for us to find a. Okay, so our y value is negative 12, and then we have a, and then this is negative 6 squared. Then we end up with negative 12 being equals to basically 36a, right, divided by 36 both sides. Therefore our a is basically negative 1/3. Okay, so we're done with that one. And then now let's move to 4.4. They say write down the equation of f inverse of the inverse graph in the formula of y is equals to, right? Okay, so 4.4, now we know that f of x is basically equals to negative 1/3 x squared, right? Okay, and then From that, basically the inverse graph, right? We know that we basically gonna start with our y is equals to negative 1 over 3 x squared, and then we swap x and y, right? As I said also in the previous video where I was explaining the inverse functions. Okay, so here we end up with y is equals to negative 1 over 3 and then y squared, right? Okay, and then from that we're gonna basically have negative 3x being equals to y squared, right? And then square root and then square root. Okay, therefore our y basically becomes plus minus square root negative 3x, right? But then remember that from the graph, right, going back to the graph, the values that we were given, the domain that we were given is the negative x values, right? Like, okay, so here we basically then gonna have what? We then gonna have y being equals to negative, right? Square root negative 3x, where x is less than or included 0, right? So that is the domain that we're given. And here, why did we choose negative? Because as you can see that it, from the two graphs, it is on the negative y-axis, right? So yeah, negative y-axis. Okay, so I just hope that makes perfect sense. Okay, and in any case also, upon substituting here, right, you can see already that indeed our x values have to be negative such that we can end up with a positive number inside the square root. Okay, so thank you for watching the video till the end. Kindly stay tuned to watch more videos. Thank you.